In The Camera Never Blinks, Dan Rather wrote the following about the riots of September 30, 1962 on this campus. For 15 hours, an American college campus turned into a virtual battlefield because white authorities did not want black students to sleep or study there. The lonely, embattled figure of James Meredith became the symbol of the black tide of the future. Ross Barnett, the Mississippi governor, had blocked the court-ordered registration of Meredith for 10 days. But now the U.S. Marshal, sent by Robert Kennedy, then the Attorney General, had escorted Meredith onto the campus and into the dawn. The next morning, while the sullen and frustrated rioters of the previous night were held back by troops and federal agents, Meredith attended class. By midday, the sun had burned off a haze that hung over the campus like gun smoke. As I walked around Ole Miss, my feet kicked empty cartridges and gun clips that littered the paths like pebbles. Mr. Rather grew up in a working-class neighborhood in Houston, Texas. At Sam Houston State College, he edited the college newspaper, worked part-time at a small radio station, and was a reporter for Associated Press and United Press International. After graduation, he was hired by the Houston Chronicle and its affiliated radio station, KTRH. Because of his coverage of Hurricane Carla, he was named a network correspondent. As a CBS correspondent in Dallas during the assassination of President Kennedy, his thorough professionalism won him national repute. In 1964, he was named to the CBS National News Desk. He joined 60 Minutes in 1975, but resigned in 1981 to replace Walter Cronkite as managing editor of the CBS Evening News, the top job in American broadcast journalism. Mr. Rather served in that job 24 years, the longest tenure of any network anchor in the history of broadcast television. This year, 49 years after being here to witness and report the events he recounts in The Camera Never Blinks, Mr. Rather has two opportunities to interact with Ole Miss students. One is today. The next will be later this month in Washington, D.C., where The Brides of Afghanistan, his documentary for HDNET, will join a depth report on the Mississippi Delta by Meek School students in receiving the Robert F. Kennedy Award for Excellence in Journalism. We welcome Dan Rather as a speaker at the inaugural commencement of the Ed and Becky Meek School of Journalism and New Media.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It's an honor, and I'm both humbled and touched. And thank you, Dean Will Norton, for that very nice introduction, probably overly generous. Some of you may know the story. If you're up north, they credit it to Abraham Lincoln. If you're in this part of the world, they usually say that Robert E. Lee said it. It goes along these lines: after that kind of generous introduction, never take time to deny it. The audience will find out the truth soon enough for themselves. And so it will be here, for you here today. Dr. Canty, Dr. Eftink, Ed and Becky, Dr. and Mrs. Meek, my friend Charles Overby, family members, faculty, staff, and most importantly, graduates of the class of 2011. Thank you for having me here today on this, your special day. Years from now, graduates, chances are that you will not much remember what was said here today. To be perfectly honest, I cannot recall to this day who spoke at my own college graduation. What I do remember are the proud smiles of my parents and a personal feeling of real accomplishment. And this is fitting. This is right. These are things you should remember. But in the brief time I have with you here today, I do have something I'd like to share. One, a hope, another, a wish that I'd like to impart. You have reached the pinnacle of this challenge you chose for yourself when you embarked on a college education. As one who was first in my own family to go to college, I can tell you that I understand fully and well what an achievement this is. And when the ceremony and the celebration have died down, I hope that each of you will take some time to personally and privately savor what you have wrought through your years of applied effort here. I am aware, though, that your moment of savor will be brief, for the next challenge looms in the workplace or graduate school or in that most daunting thing of all for those who have chosen words as their stock in trade, a blank piece of paper, a newly created Word document, a thought looking for a way to be expressed. In your years here and in your education before Ole Miss, you have had ready and regular indicators of your progress, your grades, your steady march through the years from green freshmen to savvy seniors. But from now on, you will find these indicators will be harder, much harder to come by. And the goals you are working towards, too, will be up to you to set for yourselves. The goals will not be set, by and large, by others. This, let me tell you, can be daunting, but do not let it be discouraging. And as you face the next mountain to climb, or while you're trying to figure out what that mountain even is, I hope you will remember this. You are the now. You will find yourself in your next climb confronting tradition, the traditions of an institution or a work environment or a craft, artistic traditions and societal traditions, or worthy of respect. Traditions are something from which we can all learn, but I suggest to you, never forget, even as you give tradition its respectful due, that you are the now. People in my position are fond of telling people in your position, graduates, that you are the future. Kind of convenient, isn't it? Buys guys like me a little more time. The future is yours, of course, but do not wait, do not defer your dreams, and make your dreams big. Dare to be great. Begin building your dreams now, today, this moment. Use the past to drive yourself forward, not weigh you down or hold you back. Writers, and I include all of you in this description, because writing is the bedrock of any endeavor that involves communications. It is certainly the bedrock of journalism. Writers accept the challenges laid down by those in the canon, but they do not feel compelled to duplicate their work. William Faulkner, Toni Morrison, Edward R. Murrow, they have all helped to establish the parameters, the dimensions of greatness, but not one of them holds a monopoly on defining what greatness is. You have the opportunity to define that anew for yourselves and for your time, because you are the now. And as you absorb and take ownership of this charge to reimagine the art of writing, the crafts of journalism and interpretation and management, and indeed your nation and your world, in the image of your own ideas and your own time, here's my wish for you: courage. Now, courage is a word that's gotten me into trouble from time to time. Perhaps this is a fault of the messenger, but the message itself I believe to be not only unassailable, but absolutely necessary, imperative for our time, your time. I wish you the courage of your convictions. You come to this summit today filled with ideals. That is the way of youth. My hope is that you can avoid the cynicism that says that this is the way of youth only, that ideals fall away inevitably with the accumulation of years and experience. No, ideals fall away only with your permission. As you start your next ascent, do not consent to be stripped of your enthusiasm, your heartfelt convictions about the ways things should be, and the sense of your individual power to make them so. I also wish for you the courage to let those closest to you, your parents, your friends, your mentors, the rocks you cling to in your personal storms, know how you feel about them. Love is a short word, but perhaps because it contains so much, it can be the hardest word to say. Do not wait, do not hesitate. Find the courage to say or sign how you feel. And finally, I wish for you the courage to be Americans in the most basic and fundamental expression of that word. To be an American is to be a citizen, and to be a citizen in this constitutional republic based on the principles of freedom and democracy is to know your rights, and just as importantly, to use them, including using them to ensure that others among your fellow Americans have them. Democracy, let me gently remind you, is not a spectator sport, nor was it meant to be. If government of, by, and for the people is not to perish from this earth, we need to remember that the government does not reside solely in Washington, in the State House, or Town Hall. It resides within every one of us. Voting is a part of this, yes, but it is far, far from the only part. You have the right to free speech, to peaceably assemble, to petition your representatives for redress of grievances. Use those rights and guard them closely. They are yours, and many have fought and died, have struggled and faced persecution so that you and I might enjoy them. May, as you go along, heed the words of Andrew Jackson, who spoke of the bravery in standing up for what is right when he said, "One man with courage makes a majority. One woman with courage makes a majority." These words apply to all Americans and to all of you, but I speak them with particular emphasis as I address those of you who have chosen the field of journalism. My first and best journalism professor gave me a piece of advice that has stuck with me through the years and has helped provide me with what modest measures of courage I've been able to muster in my own career. It is rough-hewn wisdom, and I'm going to clean up his language just a bit, but it is simple. Quite simply put, don't let anybody scare you. Your job is to ask tough questions and to keep asking them until you get an answer, until it's clear that no answer will be forthcoming. And don't neglect the most important question of all, the follow-up question. Be respectful always, of course, but do not be intimidated by power or its trappings. I underscore this because the constitutional right to a free press is not for the benefit of the press, but for all Americans. If those of us in the press do not do our jobs, do not exercise our rights, we, our whole country, our fellow citizens suffer. And again, I say to each and every one of you, to you writers of fiction and nonfiction, of poetry and prose, and to those who will find yourselves in media management positions, do not live in fear of using your right to speak freely, to describe the unvarnished reality of what you see happening around. Self-censorship is perhaps the worst censorship of all, for it is a form of oppression that is all but impossible to hold up to the light and root out. Self-censorship both ratifies and engenders fear. It is a pernicious enemy of any free society. Do not fall into this trap.